But as Sheikh Hamza mentioned, two things stand out. Number one is that this is quite a technical topic. And number two is that it's quite lengthy, in fact. Typically, I would like to do this over 2 days. But I have tried to compact it and try to cover as much information as we can in the shortest time possible. So this will require your undivided attention. And there is the knowledge of fada'il and the knowledge of masail. The fada'il are the virtues, what we will get by obeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, by fulfilling His commands. And also there are the warnings for not fulfilling His commands. The why. And then there is the masail, which is the how. How do we fulfill the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? So as far as the chronological order is concerned, first we should cover the fada'il, the virtues and the warnings, the wa'ad and wa'id, as the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was sent, inna arsalnaka shahidan wa mubashiran wa nadhira, bringer of glad tidings and warnings. And this is known as the ilm al-targhib wa tarhib, knowledge of encouragement, and at the same time the knowledge of the different warnings for not fulfilling the order of Allah. Knowledge of building one's iman. And once the iman is built, then the slave of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will ask Allah that, oh Allah, how can I obey you? How can I worship you? How can I fulfill your commands? Then we come to the fiqh. I just want to highlight that. We cannot cover the imaniyat and the aqaid as well, and the need to fulfill the order of Allah and the existence of Allah and why we have to do zakat. That's beyond the scope of today's discussion. We're jumping straight into how to calculate zakat. Now if an individual is like, why do I need to? Right? So that can be tabled for another time. We can talk about that for sure. But that's not what we're talking about tonight. Tonight is about how. Assuming, there are basic assumptions before we begin any presentation. This is more than a presentation. I would rather say this like a class where we learn the fiqh of zakat. Is that a person is a reciter of the kalima la ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, a person is a Muslim, a person is a mu'min, we are addressing, and has a sense of the importance of fulfilling this command. It is a pillar of our deen. And bunya al-Islamu ala khamsin. Islam is based on 5 pillars. Shahadu an la ilaha illallah wa Muhammadur Rasulullah wa iqam as-salah wa ita az-zakah wa sawm Ramadan wa hajj al-bayt. Only 5 pillars. It's not 50 pillars or 500 pillars or 15 pillars, 5 pillars. And one of the 5 is zakat. So, what else can we say about how important the topic is? 1/5. It's a very, very important pillar of our deen. And there is massive levels of ignorance regarding the ahkam. So some people just think, okay, I pay my taxes. That's okay. I don't need to pay zakat. Or, after all the different tricks the accountants tell us of how to avoid taxes, whatever is left, we pay. But that obviously will not suffice. So in the beginning, I did mention a few ayat about zakat and a few ahadith, but the meat of the discussion is how to calculate it. So what this seminar will cover, these are a few things. What is zakat? Zakat in Quran and Hadith. Spiritual significance of zakat. Who is required to give it? The calendar, assets liable for zakat, beneficiaries of zakat. And then practicals. I'm inshallah looking forward that you will use something for you to look forward to is number 8, the practicals at the end. That is where, we will have our quiz, right? وَعِنْدَ الْإِمْتِحَانِ يُكْرَمُ الرَّجُلُ أَوْ يُهَانُ. No, it's okay. Everyone will pass, inshallah. But this is going to be an opportunity for us to put into practice and apply the principles we are learning. Different case scenarios will be presented. And we can all work on it together. And as we were talking about already, I'm not going to mention again the importance of paying attention, but at the same time, one thing we didn't mention is that the slides are very, very important to pay attention to. So if my voice is reaching you, but you can't see the slide, then you need to what? Move to a place where you can see the slide. Okay, what is zakat? So there's something in our fiqh, in our deen, where we have different terms. There's al-ma'na lughawi and al-ma'na istilahi, the terminological meaning and the literal meaning of the word. So zakat literally in the lugha, in the dictionary, it means purity and blessing, growth and praise. Like Imam Qurtubi rahimahullah, he says, يقول العرب زكى الزرع إذا نما. When the crops grow, they say zakat zar'u. Zakat means growth. It also means purity. خذ من أموالهم صدقة تطهرهم وَتُزَكِّيهِمْ بِهَا, like the tazkiyatul qalb, purification of the heart. So zakat means to purify, and it also means true growth. And there's always a link between the literal meaning and the terminological meaning. So for example, I believe Fiqh of Sawm was covered by Shaykh Hamza. So Sawm, for example, just means al-imsak, to withhold, in the language, in the lugha. Please start raising your hand if I'm going too fast, right? If you cannot follow what I'm saying. So Sawm means to withhold. But in the Sharia, it's al-imsaku عن المفطرات الثلاث أي الأكل والشرب والجماع من طلوع الفجر الصادق إلى غروب الشمس. To withhold from eating, drinking, and marital relations from true dawn till sunset, مع النية, with intention. So that's your complete terminological meaning of Sawm. Likewise, all the other things in our Sharia, all the other ahkam in our Sharia, they have a meaning in the dictionary and the meaning in fiqh. Hajj is qasd, to intend. But qasdu baytillah bi'ada'i arkanin makhsusa fi ayamin makhsusa. To intend to visit the house of Allah and perform specific rituals on specific dates. Right? That's your hajj in the Sharia. So moving forward, what is zakat in the Sharia? تمليك بعض مال جزما عينه الشارع لفقير مسلم لله تعالى. It means transfer of ownership of a portion of one's specified wealth to a deserving individual for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So there's a lot of things happening in this definition. This is the definition which is جامع لأفراده and مانع من دخول غيره. It's inclusive of all of the term being defined and excludes that which is not being defined. So every type of zakat is included here, and that which is not zakat is not included here in the definition. So transfer of ownership means that if I'm giving zakat to some individual, then the money I'm giving has to enter into the ownership of that person. He has to actually own the money. So for example, if I build a well, so is there a needy individual who will now be possessor of that well? He will have the deed for it or not? We are going to talk about this. There are more slides coming about the concept of tamlik, to make someone an owner. Then it says a portion of one's wealth. Portion. What portion? That is the easiest part. Everyone knows. 2.5%. Specified wealth is there. Specified wealth means you don't have to give 2.5% of all wealth. There are different types of wealth a person will have. So there are zakatable assets, and they're going to be what? What do you think? Zakatable, and the other one will be non-zakatable. So the zakatable assets you give 2.5%. Okay? Non-zakatable. So I asked the students one time that if a person, has $1 million, can you give me a scenario where he doesn't have to give 2.5%? They're looking at me like, what? He has $1 million? Yeah. You don't have to give 2.5%. Why not? Think about it. You won the lottery. So if you won the lottery, tawbatillah, astaghfirullah, astaghfirullah. So what happens? You don't have to give zakat on the lottery? Is that what you're telling me? You don't give 2.5%, you give 100%. It's haram, right? So you have to give 100% to the Islamic Foundation of Greater St. Louis. Right? Okay, so anyway, so the thing is, 2.5% is of specified wealth. Lottery, for example, you have to give 100% away because it's haram. And you make tawbah, وَالتَّائِبُ مِنَ الذَّنْبِ كَمَنْ لَا ذَنْبَ لَهُ. The one who repents from a sin is like the one who never committed it. Now, who are you giving it to? Can you just give it to anyone? Zayd, Amr, Bakr, Khalid, Tom, Dick, and Harry? No. It has to be a deserving individual. All right. Who are the deserving individuals? Those are slides that are going to come. إنما الصدقات للفقراء والمساكين والعاملين عليها والمؤلفة قلوبهم. Allah describes the deserving individuals in Surah At-Tawbah. And who are you doing it for? For Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Lillahi ta'ala. Okay? So some ayats, Surah Baqarah, أقيموا الصلاة وآتوا الزكاة واركعوا مع الراكعين. Establish the prayer and pay the zakat. Allah has bracketed them together. One is ibadah badaniya, one is ibadah maliya. Physical ibadah, financial ibadah. بأموالكم وأنفسكم. Strive in the path of Allah with your person and your wealth. Surah Baqarah. So there are many ayats. The point of this ayah is that just like salah is an obligation, zakat is also bracketed at the same level. Then this ayah 274. وَالَّذِينَ يُنْفِقُونَ أَمْوَالَهُمْ بِاللَّيْلِ وَالنَّهَارِ. Those who are giving out of their possessions by night and by day. That means that there's no time limit, only this time. Night and day, all the time. Sirran wa alaniya, in private and in public. فَلَهُمْ أَجْرُهُمْ عِنْدَ رَبِّهِمْ, they will have the reward with their Lord. وَلَا خَوْفٌ عَلَيْهِمْ وَلَا هُمْ يَحْزَنُونَ, they have no fear, no grief. Fear for the future and grief for the past. لا خوف means على ما سيكون, no apprehension about future stages. وَلَا هُمْ يَحْزَنُونَ على ما فات, no grief on who they're leaving behind. Incidentally, like for example, when mashallah the gymnasium was built, I was here, right? And they wanted to put the plaque of all the donors. So they asked me like, okay, what ayah should we put this up? So this is the ayah, because I was thinking, subhanAllah, we're honoring the donors. So what type of ayah are you going to put when you're honoring individuals? It's public, right? So this ayah talks about that. You go there now, look at it again. لَتَرَوُنَّهَا عَيْنَ الْيَقِينِ. With the ayah of certainty, you will see this plaque there. Unless they moved it, I believe it's still there. It says sirran wa alaniya, in private and in public. So there are two types of recipients. If there is an individual who is going through hard times, is a needy individual, right? You don't publicly give it. Now themselves, if they put up a GoFundMe page, that's a different story. But if somebody is needy, you're supposed to quietly give them. That's sirran. Alaniya is when this gym and this school, this is a known project, it requires funding. It's not a secret. So if it's an open charitable project that everyone understands requires funding, then you can give for it openly. Why are you giving it openly? Everyone knows. That is to encourage others. There you go. Next one. Sahih Bukhari and Muslim. Muttafaqun alayh. It's an authentic narration. إن الله عز وجل قد افترض عليهم صدقة في أموالهم تؤخذ من أغنيائهم فتوضع في فقرائهم. The key thing here is that the zakat originally should be spent in the same, should be collected from the same, from one area, should be spent in the same area, same country, for example. And how that is understood from this hadith is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made sadaqah farad in fi amwalihim, in a particular group of people. It is taken from the rich of that area and is given to the poor of that area. So every area will become self-sufficient. This is the general rule. However, of course, if there's huge crisis taking place somewhere else, as we know has happened in the past, how many crises there are? So many crises. And there's an urgent need, of course we can send zakat money overseas. But the default is the zakat should be taken from one place and spent in that same place, and that is understood from this hadith. Now, the spiritual significance of zakat. I'm not sure if this top line, if they can get rid of it somehow, then it will be beautiful, mashallah, the AV team. Because cutting off the head of the spiritual, cut off the head of spirituality, where are we going to be? The spiritual significance of zakat, number one, it purifies one's soul from greed. Remember, zakat means to purify. So it purifies the heart from greed. It purifies one's wealth as well from impurities. So your heart is pure now, your wealth is pure, inshallah. It acts as a bridge between the affluent and the needy, bringing them closer together, fostering greater solidarity within the community. Subhanallah. All right, so you'll say, oh yeah, of course, the needy are going to appreciate the affluent. You're helping us out. That's apparent. But what's more significant is that, subhanAllah, I remember the occasion as well. Right here in this tafsir hall, we had a fundraiser there was an earthquake at that time in Kashmir. So there was a fundraiser for the victims of the earthquake. So every time you get an opportunity, you study more. So I was reading the tafsir to prepare for that fundraising talk. And it just impacted me to the extent that I remember the occasion, the moment, like when I read it. Because there was an ayah, it's linked with this right here. يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا لَا تُبْطِلُوا صَدَقَاتِكُمْ بِالْمَنِّ وَالْأَذَى. O those who believe, do not cancel out, invalidate your zakat by manni wal adha. Mannun means to act as if you have done a great favor, ihsan jatana. And adha is to give pain to the person, either verbally, ridiculing him, looking down upon him, or na'udhu billah, physically, beating somebody up because I gave you zakat. So this is the ayah. Now, under the tafsir of the ayah, there are many different things written, but the one thing that I'm referring to, which was very impactful, was, see, Allah Ta'ala says, La tubtilu, do not cancel out. So it was written I believe it was one of the statements of Hasan al-Basri rahmatullah alayh, or other scholars of the past, that if a person who is giving zakat money to a needy individual, the needy individual is what? Hungry, thirsty, dying. Okay? He doesn't have his next meal. He's going to die. And you are giving him zakat money. If at the time you are giving zakat money to the needy individual, if you don't have this conviction and this yaqeen that on the day of judgment, ana ahwaju, I will be in much greater need for the thawab of this zakat than this needy recipient is for the food and medicine and money I'm giving him, then a person has invalidated the thawab and falls under la tubtilu sadaqatikum, do not cancel out your good deeds. So when we are giving money to a needy individual, then we have to have this conviction that we are actually in greater need of the thawab than he is of that. And you'll say, wow, is that true? How is that? Because it's very obvious. Why is it obvious? Because if you don't give him food and money, what's going to happen? He may be thirsty, dehydrate, or he may have a lack of food. And eventually what's going to happen? Worst case scenario is death. Instead of a peaceful death, could be a painful death. It can't get worse than death. He's going to die. But guess what? Everyone has to die anyway. So he's going to return back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But if we do not fulfill the obligation of zakat, then it's not just death. It's khalidina fiha abada. It's eternal punishment. So who's in greater need? Is he in greater need of the zakat, or I'm in greater need of the thawab of the zakat? Allahu Akbar. I could not forget that. So over here, when it says a bridge between affluent and needy, the needy, they're going to recognize the affluent, thank God for helping us. But guess what? Aren't the affluent also supposed to say, thank God you accepted the zakat? It goes both ways. It reduces wealth inequality by ensuring a more equitable distribution of resources between the rich and poor, and increases barakah in one's wealth. Right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَمَا أَتِيتُم مِّن زَكَاةٍ تُرِيدُونَ وَجْهَ اللَّهِ فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُضْعِفُونَ. When you give zakat, you will increase your wealth. And وَمَا أَتِيتُم مِّن رِبًا لِيَرْبُوَ فِي أَمْوَالِ النَّاسِ فَلَا يَرْبُو عِندَ اللَّهِ. And those usury-based, interest-based transactions, that is not going to increase your wealth. This same concept is mentioned again, يَمْحَقُ اللَّهُ الرِّبَا وَيُرْبِسْ صَدَقَاتٍ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give barakah in your wealth through sadaqah and will destroy the barakah through riba. Let me quickly pause for a moment. Think about this. I have $100, I give it in 10% interest, I get $110. I have $100, I give $10 in zakat or sadaqah. Zakat will be $2.5. Sadaqah, $10. What happens? I have $90. So is $90 greater or 110? Obviously 110 is greater than 90. Then what does this ayah mean? This ayah means that we are making a mistake in measuring the wealth. We are measuring wealth by quantifying it and saying 110 is greater than 90. But that is not the true measure of wealth. The true measure of wealth is how much benefit you derive from it, how much comfort it gives you, how much happiness it gives you, peace of mind it gives you, contentment it gives you, satisfaction, success, happiness. That is the true measure of wealth, because you don't eat the wealth, right? You can't even sleep on the wealth. You want that happiness, peace of mind, right? So the happiness and peace of mind and comfort and contentment in the 90 will be greater than the tension and the pressures and the anxieties of the 110. Just want to throw that out there for those who may be pondering, reflecting, thinking, wait a second, how is 90 greater than 110? This is a very simple understanding. Now, I don't know why we make it more difficult than it has to be. I personally attended one session, one place, where that's why this is, again, sticks in my mind, where there was a presenter, may Allah forgive me and all of us and him as well. Because he was telling the crowd, he asked the same question, he went through the same scenario, okay? And then he said, is 90 greater than 110? Obviously, this is like first grade level. I think probably kindergarten level. So, yeah, actually, it is kindergarten. Because when you count to 100, you get the sticker in kindergarten, right? So the thing is, he said, everyone said, yeah, 110 is greater than 90. He said, you are all wrong. Are you right? Your math right? Or Quran is right? Kalamullah. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. The Quran says 90 is greater than 110. You are saying 110 is greater than 90. Allahumma waffiqna. May Allah grant us tawfiq. So the reality is the Quran is telling us do not measure wealth by quantifying it. Measure wealth by the comfort you receive from it, happiness received from it. So that is the number 5. Number 6, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands us to give zakat, making it a vital duty. It's farad. End of the discussion. At the end of the day, guess what? Believe it or not, we are slaves. Don't forget. And Allah is our master. So the master tells the slave, you give zakat, you better do it. No option. So we don't even need all of the above. So this is the final thing, is that subhanAllah, it's a farad, so we have to do it. Whether we get the barakah or not, that's additional bonus. It purifies the wealth, purifies the soul, etc., etc. Okay, the gift of giving, abundant rewards. The rewards, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that whoever spends the path of Allah is like مثل الذين ينفقون أموالهم في سبيل الله كمثل حبة أنبتت سبع سنابل, 7 ears, each bearing 100 grains, meaning 700 times. Wallahu yudha'ifu liman yasha. Allah will increase for whoever He wishes. Everyone heard this in the fundraisers, right? In Surah Rum, this is the ayah about, I already mentioned, وَمَا أَتِيتُم بِالرِّبَا لِيَرْبُوَ فِي أَمْوَالِ النَّاسِ. If you want usury, lending out in interest, it will not increase in the eyes of Allah, but sadaqah will. Surah Tawbah. So no one raised their hand. I'm not going too fast, right? Okay. Surah Tawbah, Allah Ta'ala says here. Now, the thing is, consequences and warnings as well. Remember, ilmu targhib, what? Tarhib. Mubashiran wa nadhira. Wa'ad and wa'id. Warnings. So, there's a warning here too. It's not about like, okay, if you give zakat, it's great, you get rewards. But, maybe I'm not interested in rewards. Na'udhu billah. No. It's not about just rewards. You're going to miss out. You're going to end up facing dire punishment. May Allah protect us. وَالَّذِينَ يَكْنِزُونَ الذَّهَبَ وَالْفِضَّةَ. Those who hoard gold and silver. وَلَا يُنْفِقُونَ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. And they're not spending in the path of Allah. فَبَشِّرْهُمْ بِعَذَابٍ أَلِيمٍ. Give them the tidings, they will have a grievous punishment. يَوْمَ يُحْمَى عَلَيْهَا فِي نَارِ جَهَنَّمْ. The gold and silver will be heated up in the fire of Jahannam. فَتُكْوَى بِهَا. It will be branded. جِبَاهُهُمْ. جَبْهَ جِبَاهُ. Foreheads. وَجُنُوبُهُمْ. Their sides. وَظُهُورُهُمْ. Their backs. The scholars say when the needy came, he frowned. جِبَاهُهُمْ. The forehead branded. Turned his side. And then he turned his back. وَظُهُورُهُمْ. That's the order. الْجَزَاءُ مِنْ جِنْسِ الْعَمَلِ. The punishment according to the action. هذا ما كنزتم لأنفسكم. This is what you hoarded for yourselves. فذوقوا ما كنتم تكنزون. Now you taste that which you hoarded. اللهم احفظنا جميعا اللهم احفظنا. In Bukhari there's another narration as well. This is the ayah, this is the hadith. قال الله قال رسول الله. The warnings. This is a long hadith. The main point here is that when the zakat is not paid, the wealth will be made like a bald-headed poisonous snake. It had black spots over the eyes. Allahumma fadna. The snake will encircle his neck and bite his cheeks and will say, I am your wealth, I am your treasure. Ana maluka, ana kanzuk. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam recited these ayat. Those who are miserly with what Allah has granted them should not think that it is good for them. On the contrary, it is bad for them. Whatever they have withhold will be hunger on their necks. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us. Now, that's the end of the fadail and the warnings and the virtues. Who is required to give zakat? Number 1, Muslim. Very simple rule. All the ahkam of Sharia apply to Muslims. And the non-Muslims, what applies to them? What's farad for non-Muslim? To recite the Shahada. Right? So once he becomes a Muslim, then the ahkam of Sharia will apply and he has not become Muslim. So the farad obligation for non-Muslims is ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Then he has signed up and the rest of the obligations fall. This is important. Like if there's an Islamic government, right, they cannot collect zakat money from a non-Muslim. Right? They cannot ask him to pray Jumu'ah because they're not Muslim. They will ask them what? To become Muslim. So Muslimun, that's the first shart, condition. Number 2, balighun, must be an adult. Key takeaway from this one is that if there is wealth, not assigned for, but actually in the bank account of a child who is not baligh, who has not reached physical maturity, then just like Sawm and fasting is not farad on a 1-year-old, 2-year-old, 5-year-old, 6-year-old, depending on when they become baligh, that is getting earlier and earlier nowadays. That's why I stopped at 6, 7. For girl, it could be 8, 9 even, or boy, it could be 12, 13. So just like it's not farad on them to fast, right? We understand that, hey, it's a 2-year-old baby. How is the baby going to fast? It's not farad to perform salah. So likewise, zakat is not farad on a child. If there is money in the account of that baby that has been like put for their college fund, or any grandfather, grandmother gave it, so the zakat becomes farad when? Upon bulugh. That's number 2. Number 3, aqilun sane. If there is a very rich, insane individual who inherited money, and they are exempt from zakat. Muslimun, and you have balighun, aqilun. Then you have, this is a big one. The first 3 are conditions for many of the ahkam of sharia, like salat and everything else. But number 4 is unique for zakat, which is to be sahibun nisab, to be the possessor, owner and possessor of wealth equaling the threshold at the start and end of the lunar year. So this is a specific miqdar shar'i, it is a specific amount that has been determined by Allah. It's not something that fluctuates with the market or you can come up with it on your own. In the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, for gold coins, the dinar, 20 mithqal, and for silver, 200 dirham. It's going to come in the slides. That's the nisab of gold and silver. So you either possess the nisab or you don't possess the nisab. So nisab is a specific threshold. We define the term and then we use the term afterwards. We don't repeat the definition, right? So what is nisab? Nisab is a specific threshold which has been determined by whom? By Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that if you possess it, you have to give zakat. If you don't possess it, then you do not have to give zakat. And it has to be at the start and end of the lunar year. We're going to talk about this. Start and end of the lunar year. Okay, so the minimum wealth required to pay zakat is called nisab, 2 variations, gold, which is 87.48 grams. Okay, 87.48 grams, or its equivalent in cash. In the time of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, it was 20 mithqal. That's why I kept the original name there of the type of coin. And silver is 612.36 grams. Right, 200 dirhams. Now, how do we calculate it? If we have cash, so if you take the 87.48 grams times 5840, which is the gold rate per gram as of March 9th when we prepared this. So the gold nisab is what? Approximately $5,000. I'll just round it. Well, you can't round it down, right? You can round it up. But for this, to make it easier, I'm going to say 5,000. The gold nisab is around 5,000. Silver nisab is around $398, around $400. Look at the difference, $400 to $5,000. So this is important as well because, okay, the silver nisab was always less than the gold nisab. Less meaning the cash value of it was less. It's 200 silver and 20 gold. But gold is so much more expensive than silver. The value of gold is more. That gold was around, like now it's 5,000 and silver is 400. The gap wasn't that much. How much was the gap in the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? 1 to 10. The ratio was 1 to 10. That's why it's 220. 20 gold coins and 200 silver coins. But now it's huge gap. 400 to 5,000. So what happens is, if a person has gold, he has to go by the gold nisab. So if you have gold jewelry, gold bullion, gold coins, gold and bars, mashallah, whatever form of the gold you have, you go with the gold nisab. And if you have silver, what are you going to go with? The silver nisab. The question is, if you have dollars, right? If you have dollars, do you go with gold and silver? So classically, the scholars used to go with anfa' lil fuqara, what is more beneficial for the poor people. So they used to say that, hey, go with the lower of the two. Go with the silver. But the fact of the matter is that the silver is so low and the gold is so high. So you say, so what? More people give zakat. No, keep it at silver. Why are you going to change it to gold? There's a very strong reason why in the current financial markets, the scholars are saying you can go with the gold nisab. The reason I'm highlighting this, if I say with mixed assets, you can go with gold. There it is. If you own mixed zakatable assets, you may also go with the gold nisab. I said they may also go. I didn't say you must. If you open the books of fiqh, right, and anyone wants to check a book of fatwa, classically they're going to tell you, I'm telling you now, that if you own mixed zakatable assets, you go with the silver. But why are we saying it's okay to go with gold? It's because of the price difference. And if somebody says, okay, why are you so considerate, people? Just, more people can give. But it's not only the matter of giving, it's also the matter of who's eligible to receive. So if you are possessing a nisab beyond your needs, and you have $450, how far is that going to get you in life, right? And you say, hey man, you passed the threshold, I can't give you zakat money. See, when you go with silver, what happens? It's not only giving side, it's also receiving side. So if you go with the silver, somebody has $450, you can't receive zakat money. That's all he has beyond his needs. He has $450. He can't receive it because you're going with the silver. And an even bigger problem, look at this one, is that when it comes to wujub of udhiyah, the obligation of slaughtering the animal when? On Eid al-Adha, right? 10th, 11th, 12th of, or 13th of Zul Hijjah, preferably on the 10th, right? Who is it farad on? Who is it wajib on? The one who is possessing nisab. Oh my God. And you don't have to have it in your possession for the whole year. If on the day of Eid you possess nisab, you must sacrifice a goat. The nisab is $400. The goat maybe $350. Right? So pretty much you're going to have to give everything to buy that goat. Whereas if you go with the gold nisab, a person has $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000. He doesn't have to give the gold. Why? Because you're going with the gold. He's still less than 5. Did I lose you at this point? You got it? So that's why scholars are saying we can go with the gold nisab, even for mixed zakatul assets, even for dollars. Now, this is another very important thing where you have to pay attention, is that this whole concept of hawlanul hawl, passing of the year. You have to give zakat once a year. First of all, it's not a Gregorian calendar, the solar year. It's rather the lunar year. يَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنِ الْأَهِلَّةِ قُلْ هِيَ مَوَاقِيتُ لِلنَّاسِ. They ask you regarding the moon, say it is a means of determining the time. So zakat is due once every lunar year. And we know the lunar year is shorter than the solar year. So if you're giving over solar years, you'll end up missing zakat payments over time. That's one thing. Then there is a concept of the due date and the anniversary of the due date. Right? So you have to give it on every anniversary of the due date, Islamic due date. So when does it become due? When a person is a young man or young woman and they don't have any money, okay? You have to go back to that time in your mind. When you were a young person and you didn't have any money, then you started working, okay? And then, أَلَا يَا لَيْتَ الشَّبَابَ يَعُودُ يَوْمًا فَأُخْبِرُهُ بِمَا فَعَلَ الْمَشِيبُ. Right? Anyway, we wish we could go back, right? Mentally we can go back. Like the poet says, oh, I wish the young age would come back and I would tell it, oh, this is what old age has done to me. Okay, so, so he says, when he starts earning and then he has savings, when the savings reach the threshold of nisab, when you're going with which one? Gold standard, 5,000. That first date, you have to mark it in your Islamic calendar. Those who are young people who haven't earned money, I'm not going to ask you to raise your hands. But guess what? You're prepared. Now you know what to do. And those who are older can go back. We're going to have slides on retro zakat, paying past zakat due. So on that day, you note it down in your calendar. And then what happens is, one lunar year passes by. Say it's 5th Rajab. So after one whole year, on the 5th Rajab, on that day, if you are in possession of nisab, you have to give what? 2.5% of what you have. All right? So what happens is that it's so simple. Just on your due date, on that date, if you are possessing nisab, you give 2.5%. That's all you got to do. Why do people make it confusing? They say that the money, does it have to remain in my possession for 1 year? 1 lunar year? It hasn't. Maybe I inherited money a month ago, 2 months ago, even a week ago, before my due date. I have to give 2.5% of that? Absolutely. Because if you lose money, the same thing applies. Say you had on your due date, right, you had in 1443. You can't say 2021, 2022, 2023 anymore because it's lunar years. So in 1443, on the due date, if a person had the zakat nisab is what, 5,000. Say he has 10,000. The whole year he had $1 million, $10 million, $20 million, a lot of money, right? And then a few days before his due date, he lost it. So on his due date, how much zakat he has to give? Whatever assets he has on his due date. You understand my point? That simple. Don't worry about the fluctuation in between. But if people sometimes are hung up on the concept, no, what about the passing of a year? Okay, you want to talk about passing of a year is there on you as a person, not passing of a year on each cent. You know why? Because imagine if you're getting paid your direct deposit in your salary, right, on the 15th and end of the month. And every paycheck that you get, or that is directly deposited, mashallah, you're an astute, wise person, your financial consultant, advisor told you, consider that 10%, just keep it on the side, do not use it. Don't consider it's not your money, right? Very common advice. So that's remaining in your possession, yes or no? Yes. So every 15th and the 30th of the month, 10% you're keeping in your possession. If you want a passage of a year on every cent, then when will the 1 year pass on that 10% that you're getting on the 15th and 30th? Every month, every 15th and every 30th, you'll have a year passing. You understand my point? Because you had left behind 10%. You say, I'm not going to give zakat on this because a year hasn't passed. So next year, every single month, 15th and 30th, you're going to have to give zakat. Because there's some money at this point which has remained in your possession for 1 year. Do you understand? So the passage of the 1 year is not on the dollars and the cents. The passage of the 1 year is on you as a person. So whatever fluctuation happens in between is of no consequence. Even if a person dipped below the threshold during the year, as long as a person doesn't hit zero. If a person hits zero and goes negative, that ends the count of the year. And then once he reaches the threshold again, you start counting. So for example, if a person has nisab on his due date, he pays 2.5%. Then what happens? Throughout the year, he fluctuates, goes up, goes down, above the nisab, below the nisab, all over the place. Crazy economic times. On his due date, he just gives the 2.5%. Another case is that after like 8 months into the year, it goes down to zero, or even goes into negative. So those 8 months are gone. Date is going to be what? Reset. He's eligible to receive at this point. Once it goes back up and it hits the threshold, then you start calculating a new zakat year. All right. So those are the graphs that we have. First here it shows that the person, he earned his first paycheck in Ramadan. Oh yeah, that brings us to the question of, hey, I want to give zakat in Ramadan. What you can do is, the first year you start earning, you prepay, even though it hasn't been 12 lunar months. إِنَّ عِدَّةَ الشُّهُورِ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ 12 شَهْرًا, 12 months, it hasn't been. Maybe, as I said, Rajab 5th. Rajab, Sha'ban, Ramadan. Is it due yet? No. But you discharge it in Ramadan. Because it's an amazing offer. Buy one, get 70 free. من أدى فريضة فيه كان كمن أدى 70 فريضة فيما سواه. Whoever fulfills a farad obligation in Ramadan will receive the reward of 70 times. You give it once before, and then what do? You reset your date. Now every year you can give it in Ramadan. And then you can discharge it throughout the year. So that's the whole thing about setting your Ramadan date. Now what happens? The starting date of a zakat year is the occasion when an individual's asset first meets the nisab threshold. From here it goes up, and after 1 year he gives his zakat. Ramadan 1444, he's here, mashallah, he gives his zakat. Let's see the next. The fluctuation of wealth throughout the year will not affect the determination of the due date. This was covered. If an individual's wealth meets the nisab threshold at both the beginning and the end, they are obligated to pay zakat. Okay? Now, if someone loses all their assets and their wealth falls down to zero, they will need to reach the nisab threshold once again to restart the zakat year. See, he started below, he went up. Okay? So right here, when he hits the nisab line, that should have been the start of his zakat year. And then he went below, and when he hit zero. Oh, when he hit zero, all these months, Ramadan, Shawwal, Dhul Qa'dah, Dhul Hijjah, Muharram, Safar, don't count anymore. Rabiul Awwal, now he hits the nisab. From here you start counting once again. This will reset his year. This means that the date for the beginning of the new year will reset from this point. Okay? So that is about passage of the year. Next thing is, what are the assets that are liable for zakat? You have to give zakat on gold and silver, on cash, business merchandise. Gold and silver is very simple. Gold and silver in any form. Cash is obvious. Business merchandise requires some explanation. What is business merchandise? Urudut tijara. Anything you buy with the intention of selling it for profit. You have to give zakat on what? The entire value. Which price? The price you bought or the price you're selling? The price you're selling. Some tajir here is speaking. MashaAllah. The selling price, yes. You have to give zakat on the selling retail price. The entire inventory. That's why, mashallah, the zakat of the businessmen is greater. And the barakah in the business for those, bang or bust. Those who make it, mashallah, they make it in business. Because, subhanallah, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam was a tajir. All the anbiya were, many of them were tajir. The muhajirun were tujjar, and the ansar were farmers. And the muhajirun's maqam is higher than the ansar. So, all the Islamic institutes of the past have been supported by the Muslim businessmen. The laborer, the one who's receiving a paycheck, he has to give zakat on his cash. But the businessman will give zakat on his inventory. Whole inventory. Then there's livestock, the farmers as well. All right, there's zakat for cows, camels, goats, and agricultural produce. There's a zakat, the ushur, 120. We will talk about that. So, what are assets not liable for zakat? Jewelry other than gold and silver. So, if it's platinum, see, it's not. That's why I said in the beginning, this is something determined by Sharia, not what you feel or I feel. We may say platinum, like there's silver, gold, and there's platinum level. Silver and gold is zakatable, platinum isn't. It may be more valuable to you, but it's not zakatable. Okay? Cars. You don't have to give zakat on cars, like on the value of the car. Unless what? You're a car salesman. Then it's your inventory, right? Household appliances, there's no zakat on household appliances. Properties, like the house you're living in, there's no zakat in. And if you have houses you own, you're renting out. The rent that you get will go in your bank account, there's zakat on that. But the value of the whole house, there's no zakat on it. So if you invested that money in the stock market, right? So the entire value would be zakatable. If you invested in the real estate, the entire value is not zakatable. You can give sadaqah as much as you want. We're talking about what's farad. Now, if a person makes the niyyah that I want to invest in something to reduce my zakatable assets, that's the most khabith intention possible. If you invest in real estate because, hey, it's more stable, the stock market is crashing, going all over the place. I invest in Tesla, and then what happened? Oh my God. One person came and started acting, he's very intelligent, acting majnoon maybe, did some bad choices, and what happened? My stock went down, right? So forget this. I want to go. That's a good intention. But don't invest in properties after you learn this, what I learned from the seminar is that I got to go in properties, right? So so just like the tax accountants will give you all these hilas, the muftis can give you for zakat too, but you're not supposed to do that. In fact, they are mentioned. Like if a person says that, a very romantic story that may catch your attention. The husband and the wife, they love each other so much. They love each other to death, mashallah. So what happens, the husband, he has millions in zakatable assets, cash, gold, and everything. But after 6 months, he says to his beloved wife, oh my habiba, oh my beloved, I love you so much, I give you all my wealth. So she becomes the owner. After 6 months, what happens? She says that, oh my dear husband, I love you so much, I give you all my wealth. Right? And they live happily married, 50th anniversary. How much zakat is due on them? None, because no one was a sahib and nisab for a whole year. So we cover these type of things theoretically, right? This is the way of, how should I say, politically correct, one of the nations of the past. Let me put it that way. One of the nations of the past. Allah talks about them, مَغْضُوبِ عَلَيْهِمْ. This is what they did. We don't want to follow their path. فَهِمَهُ مَنْ فَهِمَهُ. Okay. So then we have types of assets. Zakatable and non-zakatable. So this is a review of what we've studied. Gold, silver, cash, livestock, agriculture, these are all zakatable. And non-zakatable, this is the new. Are the necessary non-zakatable assets or beyond necessary? Why are we dividing up non-zakatable into necessary and beyond necessary? This is the question. This is what introduced. It's significant if your non-zakatable assets are necessary or not necessary. Why is it significant? It's non-zakatable. You know why it's significant? I'll say it here and then you'll see it. When you see it, at least it'll be your second time. Say a person, okay, introduction to this concept is that there are people who are eligible to receive zakat money. Yes? Faqir. Then there are people who have to give. The keywords are eligible and liable. They rhyme, so it's maybe confusing. So eligible to receive means you are worthy recipient. And liable to pay means you are responsible to pay. Okay. So there are people who are responsible to pay, they must give. And they are eligible to receive, they can receive. Are there only two categories? There's one third category. That's the new one for us. The third category is the middle guy. Who's the middle guy? The middle guy, he is not liable to give. He doesn't have to give zakat. He does not have to give zakat, but he's not eligible to receive. He cannot receive either. Really? Why is he in the middle? The reason is, look at this zakatable. Gold, silver, cash, livestock. He does not have nisab. Okay, he doesn't have the nisab. So he doesn't have to give. But, so does he have, like the gold nisab we said was what? 5,000. He doesn't have. You look at his bank balance, $100. The guy has $100. So he doesn't have to give zakat. That's easy, right? So he should be able to receive. But when we look at the non-zakatable assets, does he just have a basic house and a car and his needs? Or what if he has he owns a yacht? He owns vacation homes, exotic cars. This guy is investing in what? Non-zakatable assets like crazy. So, are we going to say, can he say, Bhai, look at my bank statement. I have $100. Please, I fill out the application form to Islamic Foundation Greater St. Louis for zakat. We're going to tell him, zakatable assets wise, you do not have to give. You're not liable to give. However, you're not eligible to receive either. Because you have so much non-zakatable assets which are beyond necessary. And since they're beyond necessary, what are we going to tell him? Liquidate some of those fine art and your yachts and your vacation homes. You can't say, I'm not getting the best price. Don't worry about it. Liquidate it and take care of your needs. You understand my point? That's why the non-zakatable is divided into what? Necessary and beyond necessary. Okay? So if this was a little bit hard to understand, we're going to cover it now. Non-zakatable is necessary, beyond necessary. So necessary is household goods, clothes, cars, house furnishings. So this is not going to be counted. For example, if a person has $100, $500, if you go with the gold nisab, even $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $4,500, actually $4,900, and he has household goods. Yeah, he has goods in his home. Yes, he has furniture. He has clothes. He has cars, even house furnishings. Can you tell him, hey, get lost. You can't get zakat money because sell your house? No. These are non-zakatable assets which are necessary. Right? Roti, kapra, makan, sawari. You need the food, you need your conveyance, you need your home. These are necessary things. You got it. So, this person doesn't have to give and he can also receive. However, if somebody has fine art, other jewelry, other than gold and silver. Remember diamonds? Diamonds are like landscape stones, right? And from the Sharia perspective, like the stones you have outside, same thing with diamonds, right? There's no zakat on either one. diamonds and rubies, emeralds, precious, semi-precious stones, there's no zakat. So he has all of this. He has a lot of diamonds, he has high-end watches, sports cars. So if a person has this, can he receive zakat? No, we'll tell him you better sell it. There you go. Okay, so you already understood the concept. Now you can be reinforced by looking at the charts. The blue one, zakatable assets, is past the threshold. Non-zakatable is also past. This is person A. This person is liable to pay zakat and ineligible to receive. MashaAllah, all of you. You have to pay and you cannot receive. Both zakatable, non-zakatable assets, everything is above nisab. MashaAllah, positive. Person B, MashaAllah, he has a test of faqr, poverty. He's not liable to pay and he can also receive. Zakatable assets, cash, $100, $0. In debt, in fact. Non-zakatable also is not there. Nothing. So he's both zakatable, non-zakatable assets are below nisab. Person C is the middle guy. Remember I told you the middle guy? This is the middle guy. He doesn't have to pay, but he cannot receive. The blue one, zakatable assets, is below the threshold. The green one, the non-zakatable assets, are way up there. So he doesn't have cash and he has a lot of diamonds. So this is the three groups. You got it? All right. Practice session. Zakatable. These are not the more fun scenarios are at the end. This is just a quiz in the middle to keep us awake. Zakatable or not? Household appliances. Are they zakatable? No. Okay. Vacation property is zakatable? No, it's a property. White gold, is it zakatable? Well, it's white gold. What's the gold content, right? So white gold, if it's 24 karat gold, 22 karat gold, 21 karat gold, right? More than 50% gold, then you'll give zakat on it. You got to check there could be different types of white gold out there. So you have to check the gold content of that. The gold content is zakatable, and the other metal alloys that are added to it are non-zakatable. Unvested 401k. This one I didn't mention before. So this is one of the FAQs with the ballooning 401ks that may have been, deflated a bit too recently. So the 401k, simple thing is, guess what? It's your money. You can put it under your mattress or you can put it in the 401k. If it's under your mattress, what do? Pay zakat on it, right? And if you put it in the 401k, it's also yours. You have to pay zakat on it. The only thing is, there's what you have invested in it and what the company matches. So what you invested in it is zakatable. What the company matched, if it's going to move with you wherever you go, then that's also zakatable. If it's not vested, unvested, meaning they want to maintain you as their slave, right? So you better not leave me. So in that case, if you lose your job, if you move, then it's gone. So that portion that is matched by the company in an unvested 401k, that part is non-zakatable. The rest of it is zakatable. The biggest question will come that if my 401k, mashallah, is 100,000, right? So I have to give $2,500, right? 2.5%. 2.5, so 2,500 out of 100,000. But I'm hand to mouth, I spend all my money. Or maybe it's 200,000 my 401k, so I have to give 5,000. I don't have $5,000 to give the zakat, right? Because mashallah, the 401k, if it's 400,000, then how much you have to give? 10,000. I don't have $10,000. So what do? So then you just calculate it, put it aside. Once you eventually get it, at that point you will have to give for the past years, because that's your money. That money is being reinvested every year in your name, and you are choosing to put it there. So it is zakatable. This is one of the things where there are so many different people, fatawa. What is, there's no ikhtilaf, and I'll tell you there's no ikhtilaf. And where there is some ikhtilaf, I'll tell you there's a difference of opinion. Where the difference of opinion is quite legitimate, I'll tell you where it's hard to understand the opposite opinion, I'll also mention. This is one of the cases where some people say, hey, there's no zakat whatsoever on 401k until you get it. So that is really hard to substantiate from a fiqh perspective, because it's your money, you have invested it. And You are supposed to give zakat on a loan you gave somebody that's due to you. You didn't even loan it, it's in your name. If I give my brother a loan, right, a $5,000, when I'm doing my zakat worksheet and he's doing his zakat worksheet, when he does his zakat worksheet, he will minus as a liability. Oh, I owe $5,000, I'm not going to pay zakat on it. Right? So for example, if the brother has $100,000, why did he borrow $5,000? I don't know, that's another story. But he has $100,000. When he calculates his zakat, will he pay zakat on $100,000? No, he'll pay zakat on $95,000 because $5,000 is deduction because he owes the money. So he doesn't pay zakat on it. And I say, when I calculate my money, I say, I don't have the $5,000, so I'm not going to pay on it either. Nobody's paying zakat on it, right? So who's supposed to pay zakat on the money loaned? The one who it belongs to. Not the debtor, the creditor, the one who gave the loan. Over here, you're not even giving a loan. It's your money. So we have to give zakat. Allah has given us, it's 2.5%. The reason it becomes so hard is, mashallah, if it's so much, then the zakat will be so much. But it's 2.5 of X. Now if X is so great, then the zakat of 2.5 of the X huge amount will be huge. And less amount will be less. So don't sweat it, right? Okay, so there is zakat on 401k. Okay, diamond necklace, already mentioned. Is there zakat on it? No. All right. Cars? No. Gold-plated watches? If it's plated, how much plated? 1 atom thick? There's no zakat on it, right? Unless it's actual. Who's wearing a solid gold watch? I would like to meet them, right? Okay. So if it's not solid gold, you're not going to pay zakat on gold-plated. Rental property? On the rent, not on the value. There you go. I asked my students one time, I like to take extreme scenarios just so the masla sits in their mind. Is there any scenario you have to pay zakat on dirt? Haq on dirt. Yeah, if you buy and sell dirt, right? It's topsoil. And you don't have to pay zakat on diamonds. Okay. All right. Now we're entering the business, right? Stocks and assets. Zakat is due on stock and inventory acquired with the purpose of being sold again. Anything you buy with the intention to sell it, you have to give zakat on it. It's going to be based on the goods retail price. I covered this before, isn't it? Retail price, the price that you're going to sell it. Real estate that is acquired with the intention of being leased out is exempt from zakat. If you're going to lease it, you don't have to give. People will say, well, you buy it and you're leasing it out, right? You get money on the rent comes, goes in the bank, you pay zakat on it. But in the back of your mind, you're going to sell it one day. Do you have to give zakat on the value? You don't, until you actually are selling it. Okay? Somebody says, oh, Pakistan mein plot liya hua hai. I have bought a plot of land somewhere. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. Some people are renting it. Maybe I'll sell it when the value is going up. If it's not on the market, you don't have to pay zakat on it until you actively start selling it. Every partner is responsible to dispense zakat of his percentage share. That's a no-brainer. Like if there's 60, 40, 80, 20, everyone gives their share. Okay? In business, there's zakatable and non-zakatable assets. If there's cash, there's stock in trade, inventory, receivables. What's a receivable? Basically, you paid for some items that are gonna come. Non-zakatable is machinery, equipment, furniture, property, trade. All these are non-zakatable. Okay, the property. Okay, if a person has purchased something to resell, the entire holding is subject to zakat, plus dividends received. See, over here we're talking about shares. You have a share in Google, Tesla, Apple, whatever, and then you have a share in restaurant business here. They're two different things. This is a new masala again. All right? When you buy a stock, your intention is to buy when it's low, hopefully, and sell hopefully when it's high, isn't it? So you're buying it to sell. But if you have a percentage in a business, like a local business, some restaurant, halal grocery or whatever, then that's an actual partnership in a business. So how do you calculate the zakat of that? It's a bit different. What you do is, this is purchased for investment purposes. Zakat will be levied on the dividends you get and the percentage of zakatable business assets. What does this mean? This will be explained further. Or I didn't, okay, right here. So we move on to the next masala. So basically what this means is that if there's a business, right, there's a value to the business. Then you have to go in the balance sheet and see how much of the value of the business is the inventory and the cash in the bank and the zakatable assets, and how much of the value is the property. So you will have to give zakat on what? Just the zakatable portion of that business, not on the value of the whole business. If somebody is in such a situation, we can talk with them offline. This is a unique scenario, may not apply to everyone. Now, there's three types of debts. Then qawi, mutawassit, da'if. Money that is owed to you. And based on these three types of debts of money owed to you, some are zakatable, some are not. Strong debt, weak debt, bad debt. Strong debt is like gold and silver or any zakatable asset, cash, is owed to you due to loans given or unpaid invoices. Mean somebody owes you money, that's a loan. What's an unpaid invoice? You charge someone for a service, or you charge somebody for what? Some goods that you sold them and they owe you the money. That's an unpaid invoice. So people owe you money, you have to give what? Zakat on it. That's a strong debt. Zakat will become obligatory immediately, but the payment is not required until you receive it. The person bought the stuff from you or borrowed the money from you. Every time he sees you, he says, inshallah, or perhaps he takes the other path, right? He goes out the other door. So whenever you catch him, you tell him, bhai, you know what's going on with the loan, right? So he says, oh, inshallah, inshallah. So you have to give zakat on it. It's farad on you. But the payment is not required until you receive it. What that means is if he eventually pays you after 3 years, you have to give what? Zakat of the past 3 years. Okay? That's what it means. A weak debt is an intangible receivable. For example, employees' unpaid wages. You work somewhere, the boss, zalim, he never paid you. He said, oh, I'm bankrupt or whatever. Now he owes you money, yes? Yeah, he owes you money. Are you going to have to pay zakat on the unpaid wages? The guy didn't pay you and you got to pay zakat on it. No, you don't. This is a weak debt. Unpaid rental for the landlord. The landlord is hayran, right? It's such a difficult eviction process. The tenants have so many rights, right? Legal rights. So he's not paying you rent, but is the money owed to you? Yes. Do you have to pay zakat on it? No. Outstanding mahar payment. Bichari miskina, she's waiting for the mahar. 30 years, 40 years of marriage. The guy never gave the mahar. He's supposed to give it when? After the ijab and qubul. Right, we come back next time for fiqh of marriage. That'll be fun, inshallah. So a fiqh of marriage issue, you're supposed to give the mahar. If it's fiqh of zakat can be fun, fiqh of marriage can be very fun, inshallah. So if you have to give the outstanding mahar, she doesn't have to give zakat. The husband paid the mahar like on his deathbed. Oh my pyari bibi, right? He's giving the mahar when he's dying. She has to give zakat for the 40 years anniversary? No. Okay, outstanding bequest payment. Somebody wrote in their will, $1 million for you. But the executor of the will hasn't given it to you yet. You don't have to pay zakat on it. It's owed to you. So these are all weak debts. Zakat is only required for the received wealth and not for past years. When the wife gets the mahar, she gives zakat. When the employee gets the unpaid wages, gives the zakat. When the landlord finally gets the rent, pays the zakat, etc. Okay? Bad debt is number 3. Remember I told you strong debt, weak debt, and bad debt. The bad debt is red, bad. There are 2 scenarios. He admits to owing the debt or he denies it. I never saw you. Who are you? All right? I have no recollection of ever meeting you. That's scenario 2. He admits to it. He said, please, I can. I really can. If the debtor, whether solvent or insolvent, solvent means he has money. Insolvent, he doesn't have money. If he acknowledges the existence of the debt, then the debt is not excluded from your zakat liability. The fact that he acknowledges it, you have to give it. However, if he is unable to recover it, despite his acknowledgement, it's not subject to zakat. Obviously, when you get it, you have to give it, right? So you never get it, you never have to pay it. And if he is denying it, then a person will not be subject to zakat. If it cannot be verified, he doesn't have to. Okay? So this is the end of the debt of the money owed to you. That chapter is closed. Next chapter is money you owe. Money you owe. All right. In the past, qard, taking a loan was such a worst case scenario. You would never take a loan, believe it or not. That's how the Islamic economy was, the muashara was. You would never take a loan. Why would you take a loan? Astaghfirullah, that's adhabun alim. That's a dain, that's a debt. You don't want to die with a debt, because how are you going to get your maghfirah? Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam will not perform the janazah if he owes money. Can you believe it? That was the society. So only in extreme need a person would take a debt. I know it's hard to imagine. So then what would happen is, when you calculate your zakatable assets, then you deduct the entire amount of the debt. That's a normal rule. You take how much money you have, how much debt you owe, you take it out, the balance you give zakat on, because you got to pay that debt. But now everyone knows what happens. College debt, credit card debt, okay? And the biggest one, houses, mortgages, huge debts. We're living in an entire culture of debt. And that's a huge topic of why we're, people, they're actively told, like, for example, mashallah, some young friends and people ask masail, right? People of all these different departments of life, they come and they ask us their fiqh issues, and then we research it, so we end up getting a good idea what's happening out there, right? So you go to the ER physician, he'll tell you, oh my God, all the different sicknesses, because he deals with them. So we deal with masail, so we know what's happening. Now there's a person, he comes to me and says, Mufti Sahab, I just inherited so much money, and I have a college debt, house debt, fulan debt. My financial advisor is saying, Khabardar, alert, beware. The worst thing you can do is what? Pay off your debt. Why you want to do that? Don't worry about that. What do you got to do? Just pay the monthly minimum, and then let's invest it in halal or haram, I don't know what. But let's invest it, right? It's better. What should I do? From an Islamic perspective, you should pay off your debt. This is not what they're telling you. I'm telling you, they're actually teaching you the exact opposite. But it's not about making money. It's about pleasing Allah. And if you're involved in riba and haram, then get out of riba and make tawbatillah, astaghfirullah. It's a major, major, major sin. Harbun min Allahi wa rasuli. So let's get out of engaging in war against Allah and His Rasul. So what happened now is, this is another scenario where the fiqh evolved, because our situation evolved. So now if a person, mashallah, has a good income, $300,000, fairly okay income, right? What do you say? 300 grand. Now what happens is he going to live within his means? No way. He wants to what? Buy the house that is beyond his means. So he could afford like $500,000 cash house because of his savings. But he's going to get what? 2 million, 2.5, 3 million, right? So he has debt, long-term debt. Now, when he takes his balance sheet and he says, these are my assets and this is how much money I owe. Remember, nobody used to take a debt for luxury. Nobody used to take a loan for just enjoying life, only for necessity. But now we're taking it to enjoy life beyond our means. So when he starts deducting the debt that he owes, I have a 2.5 million mortgage, and my savings in the bank, 100,000. Oh, people don't even keep that much money. So, guess what? I'm eligible to receive. Shay'an lillah. Right? Because I'm in debt. My debts are greater, my liabilities are greater than my assets. In the Quranic ayah, those who are eligible recipients, it comes, إِنَّمَا الصَّدَقَاتُ لِلْفُقَرَاءِ وَالْمَسَاكِينِ وَالْعَامِلِينَ عَلَيْهَا وَالْمُؤَلَّفَةِ قُلُوبُهُمْ وَفِي الرِّقَابِ وَالْغَارِمِينَ. The one who is in debt. Guess what? That's me. Despite the fact I make $300,000, right? Because I'm in debt. So this system is not going to work anymore, right? Nobody in America will be paying zakat. And everyone will be eligible to receive zakat based on the original formula. Do you guys understand? Okay, so that's why when you do your balance sheet, the only thing you can deduct is your monthly payment, not the entire amount of the debt. Because are you tossing and turning at night, worrying about the college debt, worrying about all these debts? Most people are not. They're only worried about what? The monthly payment. That's all that you get to deduct. That's what it says here. Only one monthly payment can be deducted for debts that are structured to be repaid in installments over an extended period. Therefore, it is not permissible to deduct the entire loan balance at once. Okay? And if it's a short-term debt, like you take a qarza hasana from a dear brother, he was so generous to give it to you, you got to pay him back as soon as you can. مَطَلُ الْغَنِيِّ ظُلْمٌ أَوْ كَمَا قَالَ عَلَيْهِ الصَّلَاةُ وَالسَّلَامُ. If a person has money and he delays paying back his debt, that's a zulm. So you need to pay him back. The total amount of the short-term liabilities can be deducted, can be subtracted. So when you do your balance sheet of the money you have in your bank, you will deduct the total amount of the debt if it's a short-term debt, and just the monthly payment if it is a long-term. That's the bottom line. What are other expenses that can be deducted? If there's any essential living expenses, your utility bills, you can deduct that. Any goods you purchased on credit, you owe the money right now, your credit card bill for the month. If there's unsettled mahar and you have the intention to fulfill it, only if you have the intention to fulfill it that year. If you owe your employees in your small business or large business, you owe the employees compensation, right? You can deduct that. And the short-term personal loans that we talked about. All of these things are expenses that can be deducted from your zakatable assets. So like you take your bank balance, you take the value of the gold and silver, you take your stocks, right? And we're going to do the worksheet at the end. You'll see it all put together, everything. The whole PowerPoint is put together, and guess what? You will have the link to our zakat calculator, and you can do it. So we're just understanding the theory, and you can practically do it comfortably at home. So you add up all your zakatable assets, what are you deducting? You're deducting these things that we mentioned here. Okay? Now the question comes, retro zakat. We could make it easy and just say, pay zakat on your balance that you have every past year, for the past 20 years, 30 years, since you had nisab. But many people have large balances they have not paid zakat on. So there is a calculation where it could be a little bit less. The zakat you do is a bit less. That's the purpose of this exercise. And the basic idea of the slides you're going to see is that if there was zakat due before that you did not pay, then you have to pay zakat on it the second year. Like year 1, you didn't pay zakat. Year 2, you didn't pay zakat. Year 3, you didn't pay zakat. So when you're calculating zakat on year 2's wealth, you have to calculate zakat on year's 2 wealth minus the amount that you were already supposed to have paid in year 1. Because you didn't pay the year 1 zakat. You didn't pay the year 2 zakat, you didn't pay the year 3 zakat. Now you're going back and paying for 3 years. So you pay for the entire amount you had in year 1. Then in year 2, what are you going to pay? The amount of money in year 2, 2.5% of that minus what was already owed in year 1. You don't have to pay zakat on it twice. You'll see the numbers, maybe it'll make more sense. See, year 1441, 2.5% of 100,000, 2,500 is due. Yes or no? Got it? Okay. 1442, for the sake of making it easy, on the due date, he just has 100,000 every year. 100,000, but he doesn't pay 2.5% of 100,000. He pays 2.5% of 97,500. Why? Because he was supposed to have paid 2,500 the year before. So it was a debt. Just like you minus out the debt you owe the slaves of Allah, you also minus out the debt you owe Allah. So you don't pay zakat, you don't have to pay zakat on 100,000. You can pay zakat on 97,500. How is that? 100,000 minus 2,500. I told you, just so you understand, what's the purpose of this exercise? For those who have large balances and they have long number of years, they're making tawbah, right? And alhamdulillah, make tawbah before you die, no matter how late it is, no problem. Allah will accept. Now they're calculating zakat, right? That's where it will become significant. For small number of years and shorter amounts, this potential zakat saving, if I may say, is not too much. Okay, year 3, 1443, 2.5% of 95,000 only. Why 95,000? 97,500 of the previous year minus 2,437, right? So you don't have to pay zakat on the money that was already owed in zakat. Are we getting it now? Yeah, that's where the slides help, right? When I mentioned it, the concept, people were confused. But I think now that you see it, you're understanding, or you may not be understanding, depending on how tired you are, how was your day. And then again, so if anyone has any further questions about this, I can explain it afterwards. So at year 1444, zakat due is 9,631. So he will do the past 4 years like this. Okay, now we come to who can receive it. Beneficiaries. This is the ayah. We talked about how to calculate it with the passage of the year. We talked about which assets are zakatable, which ones are not. Now we have to give it to somebody. Who can we give it to? إنما الصدقات للفقراء. Poor. Who faqir, he has wealth but below the nisab. والمساكين مسكينا ذا متربة, toiling in the dust. He has nothing. Zakat collectors, عاملين عليها. This refers to if there's an Islamic government and there's Amir al-Mu'mineen and a Khalifa, he is appointed as zakat collector. It's not people who are doing this for a business. They cannot be given zakat money. Because there's a whole detail of why. If there's any further questions, I can take that because it's getting really late. Mu'allafatul qulub, this has also been abrogated from the time of Umar radiallahu anhu. This was initially when they were non-Muslims, they were given the zakat money to strengthen Islam. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala aghnana anha. Allah has given the strength through Islam that the Umar radiallahu anhu abrogated this. New Muslims that needed support or reconciliation. If the new Muslim is poor, he's already included in number 1 and 2. This was referring to whom? Wealthy non-Muslims or wealthy new Muslims. They were given zakat. Slaves, this doesn't happen anymore. Okay, so to purchase their freedom. وَفِي الرِّقَابِ وَالْغَارِمِينَ, debt-ridden. Meaning a person has insurmountable debt and he has no assets to relieve his financial obligations. وَفِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ, in the cause of Allah, this is referring to the mujahidun fi sabilillah. And those financially struggling who are in Hajj, they may have money at home, but they are away from their money. Okay? And the traveler, وَابْنِ السَّبِيل. The traveler, again, this is back before Quick Pay, Zelle, Western Union, transfer, bank wires. So the traveler, if he's poor, he's already included. But this is a unique category. Why is it unique? He's very rich at home, but he has got lost from his caravan, so he cannot access the wealth at home, in his homeland, across the ocean. So that person you can give zakat, even though he is actually wealthy. That's what, I mean, the reason I mentioned those is because I was just translating the ayah. Zakat cannot be given. Those it can be given. Who you cannot give it to? Child, grandchild, great-grandchild. So son, daughter, right? Maternal and paternal grandchildren. And parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, and spouse, husband or wife. Okay? So these are the 3 relatives. Simple way I remind the students is that go up, father, mother, grandfather, grandmother, go down, son, daughter, granddaughter, grandson, and aside, your spouse. These are the ones you can't give. From the relatives. What does that mean? The other relatives you can give. So who can you give to? You can give to your own sibling. And you can give to your cousins for sure. If you can give to your sibling, you can give to your parents' sibling, meaning uncles and aunts. And if you can give to your own sibling, you can give cousins, uncles, aunts, nephews, nieces, family. So if they're, the obvious FAQ that comes after I mention this every time is what? Do you have to tell them? No. It's better not to tell them. Because why you want to degrade them? Provided they are eligible based on the discussion that has passed. If they're truly eligible, they don't have nisab, they have less than $5,000 in the bank, and they're needy relatives, you should not only you can give them, rather you should give them, because you get double reward. You get the reward of silatul raham, taking care of relatives. Okay? So that, and do you have to tell them it's zakat? No. You can say it's a gift. For the marriage of your daughter or son or whatever. Or Banu Hashim, true family of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This was to eradicate once and for all any potential objection that the purpose of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam's prophethood was to amass a financial empire for his children. Hassan and Hussein, the grandchildren, they took a date, starving to death from the zakat pile, and Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam opened his mouth of his grandson, take it out and threw it. He said, Ya bunayya, oh my dear grandson, Allah has made this haram. Prophethood is not about dunya. Musaylimatul Kadhab, the false prophet, look at this. He wrote a letter to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, O Muhammad, Jibril came to me as well, and Allah revealed to me that guess what? Half the world belongs to you and half belongs to me. So you don't have to read between the lines, it's right in the lines. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, Min Muhammad Abdullah Rasuli ila Musaylamatul Kadhab. Oh Kadhab, you're the liar, right? So the whole descendants of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, they cannot receive zakat. Does that mean let them die? Na'udhu billah. What does it mean? We need to support them through sadaqah, nafal sadaqah, not farz zakat. Non-Muslim does not give zakat and does not receive zakat. Whenever I mention here, the non-Muslim, does he give zakat? No, so he doesn't receive it either. Okay, he's just like the Banu Hashim. Okay, no, the Banu Hashim will give zakat, but they cannot receive. The non-Muslim neither gives nor receives. A wealthy person, obviously, you cannot give it to a person. Wealthy person means who possesses nisab. General welfare projects is madrasas. If they are doing it for construction, you cannot give it. If there is a needy student scholarship fund, you can give zakat for needy students. Employees a salary, like you get a bunch of employees, go to Home Depot, pick up day laborers. If there's a Muslim amongst them, right? You say, pick up these bricks. They're breaking their back. You're supposed to pay the wages when? Before the sweat dries. So, can you give them zakat money? They're hungry. No, you cannot, because now it's an employee. It's wages. You cannot give zakat as wages. Prisoners, as they're taken care of by their wardens. A person who does not have the nisab of zakat but has goods beyond their essential needs. We already talked about this. A person has, vacation homes, etc. You cannot give him. Now, we talk about actual paying it. It's important to pay it without delay. And you have to have the niyyah. You have to have a clear intention. You know what happens? Like buyer's remorse. People, astaghfirullah, why are you having remorse? There was a amazing fundraiser, a very passionate plea was made. A person wrote a big check. Did he make the niyat of zakat? No, sadaqah. Then afterwards, he's like, can I retroactively make that zakat, man? When I do my calculation? No, you cannot. Because innamal amalu bin-niyyah. You have to have the niyyah at the time of the amal. You never made the niyyah of zakat. So it's necessary to make a clear intention of discharging zakat while you're giving it to the eligible recipient or their representative. Or while separating zakat funds from personal assets. Like if you separate the zakat money, it's called azlu mali zakat. You separate it, you made the niyyah. Now your employee in the store, this is like back home. The malik, the owner of the store, he put the zakat money one side. And the employee there, when the people come to ask, he gives it from there. That's fine. Because when the money was separated, what happened? The niyyah was there. Okay, so this is the importance of niyyah. And one may use their own wealth to pay the zakat of their spouse or adult children, provided they have permission and acknowledgement. So this is important. This is called niyaba, substitution. You cannot substitute for anyone in badani, physical ibadah. Like you say, hey, I'm feeling tired, beta, you pray fajr on my behalf. Right? So you cannot nobody can pray on behalf of anyone. But for zakat, you can ask somebody. Financial ibadah, you can. Like Hajj. Hajj is actually murakkab, composite of physical and financial. But financial ibadah, like a woman, if she has gold, right? And if she's not working, she doesn't have cash. She has to give zakat on her gold. So the husband, if she asks the husband, can you pay my zakat on my behalf? And he lovingly does so, that's awesome. That's great. May Allah keep them happily married. Right? So the niyyah has to be there. He can pay the zakat on behalf of the wife. He can also pay the zakat on behalf of the adult children. Why I said adult children? When I was editing at the end, I added the word adult right at the end. The reason is if he's a minor, he doesn't have to give zakat. Now if it's adult children, sometimes, mashallah, they're wealthy parents, they have put assets in the name of their kids. But what? They don't tell them. Those kids become baligh, but technically what? They're like children. They're 14 years old, 13 years old. Why don't they tell them? Because it's the dimag kharab ho jayega, right? He's going to become too arrogant, like I have so much money. Okay. But mashallah, it's a very God-fearing father. So he is discharging the zakat on behalf of his child. And he's making the niyyah. Everything sounds good, right? Guess what? The owner is the son, who's 14, 15. Has the owner given the niyyah? No. Zakat is not discharged. That's why this is important. Provided they have their permission and acknowledgement. Does that mean you have to open up the bank account of the kid and tell him? No. You can just tell him like this. Oh, my dear son, beta, there is some money we have put in your name, and you are the legal owner of it, and I want to pay the zakat on your behalf. Is that okay? If he has any sense what he's going to say. That's okay. Absolutely. Jazakallah khair, oh my dear father, for number one, putting money in my account. Number two, paying zakat on my behalf. You're awesome dad, Baba. Right? That's what he should say. Okay, so so this is paying zakat. Okay, so there are mistakes here. People, they're paying zakat on behalf of minor children. Other people are paying zakat on major children without their intention. Mistakes on both ends. If you're paying zakat on behalf of minor children, it's not a big mistake. You're just paying money that was not necessarily due. It'll fall under sadaqah. Okay, to ensure the validity of zakat, the recipient must have complete ownership and unrestricted control over the wealth received. You can't give zakat with strings attached. I'll give you the money provided you do this. You can't do that. And tamlik means you have to transfer the ownership. The transfer, the one who's giving it, must be the zakat payer or the authorized representative. Like, I am giving my zakat, so I have to make the malik, or my authorized representative. When you give your zakat money to Helping Hand, Economic Relief, or Islamic Relief, whatever, they are the authorized representative who are representing you, the payer. That's fine too. And the recipient has to be an eligible living person or the authorized representative, the recipient as well. So the recipient himself can go and take it, or they can assign a representative. Like, for example, Islamic Foundation of Greater St. Louis, Social Services Fund. So if there's a needy person and says that I fill out a form, that I assign the Islamic Foundation of Greater St. Louis Social Fund to accept zakat money in my behalf, then when you give the money to the representative of the faqir, what happens? The zakat is discharged. You either put in the hand of the person or a representative. The transfer cannot be payment for services, right? We talked about this. Recipient must take unconditional possession. Okay, now this is the final part, the scenarios. This is the test, so we can get ready for it. They're very, very easy. I was just hyping it up to keep you awake. Very easy, no-brainers, right? Zayd has $999 in his bank. Okay, I'll tell you the constants. The constant is on the bottom. It's not a variable. Assume the nisab is 1,000. Okay, so Zayd has $999 in his bank. He has a house worth $300,000. He has a car worth $30,000. Is he liable to pay? If yes, how much? If no, is he eligible to receive? So, what do you say? So this is where, remember we said the non-zakatable assets are the necessary or beyond necessary. Who is going to determine that? Guess what? That is the gray area of ijtihad. How much is necessary, how much is not. In this day and age, I would say, we could, depending on the market value of homes in his area. Okay, first of all, he has $999 in his bank. Zakatable assets, is it below or above nisab? Below, so there's no zakat. Question is, the house is worth $300,000, yes? So $300,000 is a lot, right? It's way above $1,000, but is that a necessary thing? Most of the times, depending on the market value, it could be, everyone is allowed to have their house. A car worth, he may be allowed to have it. He doesn't have zakatable assets. So, he would be eligible to receive, but when the person is giving it, he doesn't have to give it to this person. There are obviously more needy people out there, right? We're just talking about it in a technical term. We're not looking at the whole picture of society, right? Whole picture of society, what is it? There are refugees, there are people who are, if you think about them, you'll start crying right now. And I don't want to start with the middle of the presentation and start crying, but really it's just horrific what's happening. From civil wars to earthquakes, right? They deserve it more, okay? So we should give them. But we're just talking about this particular scenario in a vacuum, in a theoretical discussion. So this person is eligible to receive. Scenario 2, Amr has $500 in his bank, a house worth $500,000, two vacation properties, each worth $100,000. Is he liable to pay how much? Eligible to receive how much? What do you say? No. I like that. It's like contemporary architecture, right? Okay. So $500 is what? Nisab or no nisab? Under nisab. But he has vacation properties. The $500,000 home may be debatable, right? But vacation properties are not debatable. That's definitely what? Beyond necessary. Even though it's not a zakatable wealth, it's beyond necessary. So this person does not have to pay, but this person cannot receive. Not liable to pay, not eligible to receive. Scenario 2. Scenario 3. Maryam has $700 in the bank. MashaAllah. House worth $300,000. One rental property, $100,000. And total $400 rental income, in addition to her bank balance. How much zakat will she pay? So $700 in the bank, what is that? Zakatable. The house worth, that's not zakatable. Rental property, $100,000, is that zakatable? No. The $400 coming in, is that zakatable? Yes. 700 plus 400 is 1100. Is 1100 above or below the nisab? Above. Therefore, 2.5% of 1100. There you go. We're going through this fast. MashaAllah, smart. St. Louis people are very educated. MashaAllah, beautiful community. Okay. Scenario number 4. Fatima has $600 in the bank. Fatima has $600. A house worth $300,000. One resale property worth $100,000. One property for rent worth $200,000. What's happening here now? The $600, is that zakatable? Yes, but it's below the nisab. The house that she is living in is $300,000. That's not zakatable. That's her need. Resale property, $100,000. Oh, it's a resale property. That's the new guy here, new one here. It's urud al-tijara, bought a house, bought with the intention of selling it. My ustad used to say that tamthil se tafhim mein tasheel hoti hai. Tamthil se tafhim mein tasheel hoti hai. By giving examples, it makes it easy to understand. That's the purpose of the examples. So over here, what happened? Resale property is worth 100,000. So this is zakatable. So now we got 100,000 plus 600, 106,000. Property for rent worth 200,000? Yes or no? No. So $106,000 is zakatable. Scenario 5. Bakr has $5,000 in the bank. You know, by the way, like in English they say Tom, Dick, and Harry. So in Arabic classically, it's Zayd, Amr, Bakr. If they need a fourth character, it's always Khalid. All right. Ja Zaydun, all right. Ra'aytu Amran, marartu bi Bakrin. Like in Nahu, classically, these are the examples given. Okay, Bakr has $5,000 in the bank. A factory property worth $200,000. $5,000 in the bank. Is that above the nisab? Yes. Factory worth $200,000. Is that zakatable? No. Machinery worth $100,000. No. Inventory worth $10,000. Yes. Zakat is due on what? $15,000. Right? Look at that beautiful factory. Okay. $15,000 he has to give zakat. 2.5 of 15. Scenario 6. Zayd has $15,000 in the bank. Is that zakatable? Yes. $10,000 in his 401k. Okay, watch out. $10,000 in 401k. $5,000 contributed by him. Is that zakatable? Yes. $5,000 the company matched. That depends. Well, I'm giving the answer at the same time. If we had more time, which we don't have, then I'm supposed to let you simmer, and then different opinions. Some say yes, some say no. Then we, vote on it. Then we see who's right, who's wrong, who's right, mashallah, who's wrong, astaghfirullah, right? So we don't have time for that. I'm giving you the jawab with the sawal. Okay. So anyway, 5,000 contributed by him. So that's zakatable for sure. 5,000 the company match. It depends if it's vested or unvested. It depends. Machinery worth 25,000? No. Inventory worth 2,500? Yes. Okay. Now, I didn't talk about this. There's $1,000 fine to withdraw the 401k currently. So this is again two opinions about this. Some say the one that makes sense is that you pay the fine, you withdraw it, la qaddarallah, you have an emergency, then you don't pay zakat on it because you paid it. But if you don't pay the fine because you didn't withdraw it, then why are you deducting it from your zakatable asset? Because that entire money was invested. Say the fine here is what? $1,000. Did you pay the fine? No. Did you pay the taxes on it? If you do early withdrawal, you know what happens. You got to pay the taxes, like 30, 40%, and fine 20%, right? So like 60% is gone. So there are some people out there, they'll say, look, I have $100,000 in my 401k, but guess what? If I withdraw it, I'll have to pay $40,000 in taxes, and I have to pay $20,000 in penalties. So I will only get $40,000 in my hand. So only $40,000 should be zakatable, 2.5 or 40. Simple answer is, did you pay it? No. If you paid it and you withdrew it, obviously don't have to pay zakat on it. But if you didn't pay it, then what happened to the 100,000? The entire 100,000 rolled over and invested. Right? So which one? Yeah, so you have a choice. You take it out, then you received it, you don't pay on the penalty and the tax. If you didn't take it out, it's yours. What did you do with it? Did you invest just a 40 out of the 100,000, or did you invest the entire 100,000? Did you invest the entire 100,000, or did you invest 40,000? No, but you actively make a choice to invest the 100,000. You're not investing 40,000. You're investing the entire 100,000. I mentioned that both fatwas are there, so whichever one you follow is fine. It's fine, totally fine. But I'm just explaining you the reasoning. Think about it. Are you reinvesting 40 or are you reinvesting 100? 100. Who made that decision? You did. Right, okay. So it's fine. I respect the other opinion too. I mean, great scholars say that. I'm not just saying lip service to be politically correct, Islamically correct, PC, no. Honestly, I respect that opinion. Because if there's another opinion that I don't respect, I'll tell you frankly, I don't respect that opinion. Like, riba is halal. There are people out there saying that. I absolutely do not respect that opinion. For 1 second. How can you say riba is halal? But this one, absolutely. Okay? Sorry for getting a bit loud. Okay, so anyway, we have here, so it's fine, so don't worry about it. If you want to do that, but I'm just explaining what makes sense to our mashayikh. So over here, what's left, man? Let's go back. $15,000 in the bank, is that zakatable? Yes. 10,000 in 401k. Okay, so 5,000 contributed by him is always zakatable. 5,000 the company match, it depends if it's vested or unvested. Machinery worth is not zakatable. Inventory worth is zakatable. So how much zakat should he pay if it's vested or unvested? We covered it, right? We covered the answers for each one. Yes or no? Yes. Scenario 7, we're almost done now. $400 in the bank, all right? And his wife has 40,000. Wow. Inequality, right? In gold and silver. How much zakat is he obligated to pay? Nisab is 1,000. Yes? He has to pay on the 40,000? This is like the fun one I threw in. So the question actually was how much zakat should he pay? Right at the end, before this presentation, I changed it to how much zakat is he obligated to pay? Because he should pay for his wife, right? If he can give for his wife, it's always good to pay zakat on behalf of the wife. It's good, but is he obligated to? That's the point. No, because all right, she has her wealth, he has his wealth. Okay, so if somebody says like, what do you mean? So it's 2.5% of the goal, right? So you will have to give a few rings. La hawla wa la quwwata inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Because maut aa jaye, right? Death come, but you will not want to sell the gold. That's our culture. But you have to keep on giving 2.5%. If the husband is not giving it, or a person doesn't have a husband or no one to pay the zakat on behalf of the gold, you keep on giving. What's going to happen? It's going to get less and less and less. Until what? Until it hits the nisab. Then after that, you don't have to give 2.5 anymore. Scenario 8 is the last one. Okay, Zainab has $10,000, mashallah, in the bank. 10,000 in the bank. Gold that she wears wears worth 50,000, silver that she does not wear worth 1,000, and diamonds worth 30,000. So there are different things we are showing. Every case we're highlighting something. What are we highlighting here? 10,000 in the bank, is that zakatable? Yes. Gold that she wears 50,000 is zakatable? Yes. Silver that she does not wear worth 1,000? Yes. The point here is whether you wear or you don't is zakatable. Diamonds that are worth 30,000? No, you guys are awesome. Right, okay. So, how much zakat should she pay? You got it 100%. MashaAllah. Jazakallah khair. Feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions. Okay, one last thing I want to show you here is there's a zakat calculator, which is on our website, and all of what we studied is live. You know what's so beautiful about this? Is that there's a widget in the back that daily with the gold and silver price, it hourly or daily, hourly, it updates it. Okay? So it tells you here, for example, it says under gold price per gram, live market value updated, right, at this time. So it's $60.12 per gram, so it's $5,258. Silver price. And this is mashallah, may Allah reward our IT brothers here, doing a phenomenal job, and IT brothers in our masjid, and IT brothers everywhere in the world. Okay, so you have here Nisab standard. They helped me. I just gave them the vision and they implemented it, and I just helped edit it, and it's so beautiful. I'm myself blown away by how great this is. You can choose gold standard or silver standard. Why did we keep both? Because the original fatwa was silver, and people want to follow that. That's fine. And I explained like about 10 minutes why we're going with the gold. So you put it in here, okay? You actually put in your cash on hand, right? And then you put in the balance held in bank accounts, checking, savings, business, add that up. Okay, can you guys see it? Okay, or I can make it bigger maybe. Let's see if this works, okay. All right, and then, I wanted to go down, but it's okay, like this. Then you put resale value of shares, okay? Resale investment property, retirement plans, the vested 401k, business inventory, gold and silver jewelry, bullion means like the coins, debts owed to you, right? Accounts receivable, you add this. Then it'll give you the total assets. If you put in the numbers, it automatically adds it for you, the calculator. Then you have your liabilities, short-term debts, entire amount due, long-term debts, 1 month payment for your mortgage, car payment. Incurred expenses for the month, your current month's expenses, wages due to others. Then it'll give you your total liabilities. Then it'll give you your total zakatable amount. Then you go with the nisab and your zakat. Right now everything is zero. It's telling me you are not obligated to pay zakat. So this is our zakat calculator. Put a lot of thought into it. Inshallah, and alhamdulillah, it's there for you to use. And inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy for us to fulfill this obligation. I really, honestly, I'm saying this, appreciate your patience and your enthusiasm and your participation. Is honestly very uplifting, and I'm so thankful to you that you are. It is a dry subject, it is a difficult subject, it is a technical subject. I try to throw in humor here and there to make it easy for us. This is the fiqh of the zakat. We covered a lot of material, and alhamdulillah, as I said in the beginning, the reality is what? We got to work on our iman, we got to work on developing that iman so that it becomes easy for us to fulfill this obligation. But at the same time, we have to learn how. And this is what we learned today. May Allah Ta'ala make it easy upon all of us. And inshallah, we will take the questions offline, because we want to conclude with the dua and officially dismiss the gathering. And then what we'll do, I'll remain here. You know what? I'm here till when? Till Fajr, till Dhuhr. I'm here. I'm doing i'tikaf. And my group of students from Dar es Salaam, 10 students, we are in the masjid. We did i'tikaf last night too. So this is a really weird thing to say. You can hold me till Fajr. كان يصلي الفجر بوضوء العشاء 40 سنة. Like Sa'id ibn Musayyib rahimahullah, 40 years he prayed the Fajr with the wudu of Isha. 40 years he said, I never heard how the adhan sounds like outside the masjid. And for 40 years I never saw the back of a musalli in prayer. وَالْكِنَايَةُ أَبْلَغُ مِنَ السَّرِيحِ. Right, so he says that 40 years I never saw the back of a musalli. What does that mean? Praying in the first rak'ah. 40 years I never heard how the adhan sounds like outside. Means he was in the masjid before the adhan. 40 years he prayed Fajr with the wudu or Isha. What does that mean? He stood in ibadah the whole night. Because if you sleep, your wudu breaks. That's Sa'id ibn Musayyib, Sayyidul Tabi'een. So inshallah tonight maybe we'll end up praying Fajr with the wudu of Isha. Because I'm here, inshallah, and we'll conclude with the dua. Our Jama'ah is here, our group of students are here as well. They'll be here till tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning after Fajr, there's a khatira and there's a breakfast. The board here, the Shura has invited all of you for breakfast. So please join us in a khatira followed by breakfast. Tomorrow again after Dhuhr, I'll be here with the youth. We'll have a youth halqa. So 2 more programs, inshallah. And I'm very thankful to the RSC for inviting me, alhamdulillah. And I had a great opportunity to go over this fiqh with all of you. جزاكم الله خيرا. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى ال سيدنا محمد وبارك وسلم. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى ال محمد وبارك وسلم. اللهم اجعل اجتماعنا هذا اجتماعا مرحوما واجعل تفرقنا بعده تفرقا معصوما ولا تدع فينا ولا منا ولا معنا شقيا ولا محروما يا رب العالمين. Oh Allah, accept this gathering. Oh Allah, accept these beautiful brothers, sisters, young and old who stayed so long, oh Allah, learning the deen. This is the talab and the desire they have, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Oh Allah, bless all of them, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Make it easy for us to learn about the basic fundamentals of our deen. Oh Allah, we have spent so many years and years, decades of our lives studying about the dunya and how to earn money in this world. But oh Allah, when it comes to your commands and your sharia, our obligations to you, we have rarely spent any time and we have not learned. Ya Allah, please forgive us for our ignorance, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Oh Allah, grant us the tawfiq to learn at least the basics of our deen. As your Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, طَلَبُ الْعِلْمِ فَرِيضَةٌ عَلَى كُلِّ مُسْلِمٍ وَمُسْلِمَةٍ. Seeking knowledge is farad on every male and female of this ummah. Oh Allah, grant us ilm nafi' ya Rabbil Alameen. Allahumma inna nas'aluka ilman nafi'a wa amalan mutaqabbala wa rizqan halalan wasi'a wa shifa'an min kulli da ya Rabbil Alameen. Oh Allah, the blessed month of Ramadan is approaching. Oh Allah, allow us to discharge our zakat in the correct manner. And all the past years that we may owe you, oh Allah, allow us to discharge that as well, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Oh Allah, not only zakat, this is one pillar, our salah, our hajj, our sawm, all of our ibadat, all our i'tiqadat, our belief, our aqidah, our ibadah, our muamalat, our dealings with one another, our akhlaq, our adab, our etiquettes. Oh Allah, the entire deen that you have said, udkhulu fi silmi kafa, allow us to enter into the entire deen, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Grant us istiqamah and steadfastness on iman, preserve the iman of our generations, our progeny, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Make it easy for us to implement the deen in our lives and become torchbearers of the beautiful religion of Islam to the world, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Oh Allah, uplift the ummah from the pit of disgrace to the pinnacles of glory, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Oh Allah, the Muslims throughout the world that are suffering, grant them relief from their suffering, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Elevate their status, Ya Rabbil Alameen. Grant them reward for their sabr, Ya Rabbil Alameen. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله. جزاكم الله خير.